So you should be able to.
Somebody's recording and it's not me.
Yes, I just started. Now I can do
Excellent.
it.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. So, as I was just saying a few minutes ago, my neighbors, these numbers we have typed. Wow, somebody's 11. I hope that's not a joke.
Hmm.
Sidira Oriditse, I hope you're serious. Now you are the highest of all of us, and we have to give you special respect. Okay, that's a beautiful thing, but that's in the whole world at this moment, there is hardly any part of the world where you will find these kind of numbers being written when we're talking about the people's position in birth. And I asked for this, like I mentioned, this event organized by the OAAD Women Network is tagged training the future generation researchers or next generation researchers of Africa. And this is extremely important, seeing also um, the various levels of the positions we occupy in our various families. Like I mentioned, these are not just numbers. These numbers also mean responsibilities, especially for those who have one. My respect to you. Being firstborn in any family comes with huge responsibilities. But of course, also, it's not necessarily just about the position. In Africa, our family structure is such that we don't a person who is another number may actually take up a lot of responsibilities. But the implication is that whatever number a person has got in the family, it is a position, and that position comes with responsibilities. And I mentioned this because the Global Organization of African Academic Doctors is a constellation bringing together thousands of PhD holders, PhD students of African descent, high-end talents, experts in various areas in over 100 fields, working in different places across Africa, 54 African countries, Asia, North America, Europe, Australia, and we are coming together from all these places. We understand our position, and we also are working hard. We understand our position in history, and we're working hard to deliver on our responsibility in history. Being able to deliver on our responsibility in history is that we want to be able to identify the clear gaps that Africa must be able to fill. Gaps are challenges that make people miserable. And when their gaps are filled, just like in research, people feel excited, people feel happy. And my neighbors, there is no culture in the world where people prefer to cry instead of laughing. Crying is never preferred over laughter in any culture in the world. In Africa, it's also preferred for people to smile than cry. So our responsibility as high-end talents of African descent is that we are harnessing our clear competitive advantages to ensure that we reduce the number of generations of Africa or individuals of Africa that will possibly live out their full life in misery, avoidable misery. And how we're doing this is that we are driving the process of engagement to build bargaining power so that we can help individuals who come across our way to get things for themselves that they cannot get if they were acting only as individuals. And we're also stimulating the minds of our members to explore and boldly go for things they would not think of if they were not aware that there are thousands of high-end talents who are willing to collaborate and hanging around to work with them. So the importance of the training we are doing right now is extremely high. And it is a show of our understanding of our position in the African family and also the responsibility that we bear as a result of that position. There are unique abilities we possess because of the training we have received. And for other people who are coming, we want to be able to make it easier for them. And that's why this training is being brought, bringing, in the area of research. Also in entrepreneurship and in terms of also attracting funds for people who are doing business in various areas. We are driving in those areas as well, partnering with people in different spheres to make this possible for our people, because we know that we have a responsibility that we cannot ignore. So my neighbors, I want to welcome you very sincerely to this meeting today. And as you participate, please pay attention, not just to look for only what you can gain. I was so excited about the training yesterday. It was amazing. It was super beautiful. And I'm very confident that today's input will also be very exciting. So please, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Global Resident Think Tank, the OAAD Global Resident Think Tank, and the Executive Council, I want to welcome you to this meeting today, and giving kudos to the leaders of the OAAD Women Network for the hard work they've done to put this together, and also the resources they've put together, the monies they have spent to make this happen. We're looking forward to great outcomes, and I'm very excited because it's yielding great results already. So ladies and gentlemen, let's keep in touch and let's keep building together. Do not forget your responsibility towards your family, and beyond your responsibility towards your family as you're learning, do not forget that you have responsibility towards your village, towards your locality. Everything you're doing, you have a role to play. And we're very confident, we believe in you as you work hard, that you will not fail to achieve your results. Thank you very much, and let's keep in touch. All the best.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you very much for this clear presentation of our House OAAD. So we move quickly to the next section. Before we dive into that, I would like to present our honorable facilitator of the day to you, Dr. Philippe Atitanti. So, Dr. Philippe, hi. Dr. Philippe?
Hello, Miss Woda. I can hear you clearly.
Thank you. Before I start, Mr. President, please can you make Mr. Philippe the host so he can share screen?
All right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. So, Dr. Philippe Afro-Atitanti is an economist and a senior researcher fellow at the Africa-China Center for Policy and Advisory. So he is a Ghanaian holding a PhD in economics from Zhongnan University of Economics and Law in Wuhan, China. He obtained his master's in economics at Xiamen University in China, and he's a senior research fellow at the China-Africa Center for Policy and Advisory. He is also specialized in international financial flow, particularly examining the consequences of foreign aid and FDI inflows into Africa. Dr. Philippe possesses substantial research experience in China-Africa relationships. His primary research focus is on impact of Chinese aid and FDI on the African economy and living condition of its citizens. His work have been published in reputable academic journals, including the Journal of International Development, Africa Spectrum, and the Journal of African Business. His research findings and write-ups have also been featured on notable platforms such as London Schools of Economics blog and the Development Reports. Philippe has also commendable experience in facilitating academic research workshops, having served as research person for a quite number of research workshops. So help me welcome our Dr. Philippe Atitanti So, Doctor, it's over to you, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hoda. It's great to be here. It's great to be part of the OAD family. And as our president earlier shared on, we are just contributing what we can to ensure that we are also helping move the mandate forward. All right, so please, if you can clearly hear me, can you respond in the chat box?
Yes,
Maybe with a or something so that I know I'm being clearly heard before I proceed.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, that's great. That's great. All right. So our session for today, yesterday was the first day of the training. Our session today will basically focus on reference management softwares. And we are going to focus on one of these reference management software, which is known as Zotero. Okay, so if we are going to be involved in research or if you are going to do research, you definitely need a reference management tool. You know, gone are the days where students or researchers would be typing out by hand the various references or the citation they use in their work, because that was basically more like a whole lot of work on its own. You can imagine perhaps drafting a paper, sending it to maybe a particular journal that uses APA citation. The journal rejects your paper, and then you decide to send it to another journal that perhaps prefers Chicago citation. You can imagine the number of hours you would have to devote to just changing the citation style from APA to Chicago or MLA or Harvard or any of the other citation. And sometimes how we handle our papers is also sometimes what they call it, can draw us back in terms of the excellent work we are able to do. So our training today will basically focus on how to use a reference management tool to handle your literature, to handle referencing or citation or bibliography, and to basically help facilitate a much more effective research work. All right, so that's basically what is going to be our goal for today. Our session will be very practical, so I will need to, I may be engaging some of you as we proceed. And because it's a very practical session, I'll try my best to carry as much people as I can alongside as we go through so that I don't end up being very far ahead while some others are trailing behind, so that we'll be able to make this training as productive as possible. Can I see in the chat box those who are joining on their laptops? If you are joining on your laptop, can you please indicate in the chat box? If you are joining on your laptop or perhaps your desktop. Okay, so we have some comments coming in. Okay, great. Earlier on, I shared out a guide so that people would follow the guide to download the Zotero app or the Zotero software on their PCs before we start. All right, so if you have not downloaded it yet, maybe you can quickly use some few minutes app. It's easy to download. So, okay, let's start. I'll quickly share my screen so that those perhaps who didn't get hints of the document that had been shared, you'll quickly use some few minutes to download and we'll see if you can catch up as we proceed. All right, please, are you able to see the document I'm sharing on the screen?
Yes, we can see that.
Powerful. So this was a guide I earlier on shared. All right, so if you have still not downloaded the Zotero app, this session will not be that beneficial unless you have the app, because you're going to do a lot of things and you may not be able to memorize everything. So you can quickly just go to zotero.org/download. All right, if you go there, you should see this dialog box, or you should see this appear on your screen. The first thing you have to do is just to download, click on this download icon, and then it will download the setup onto your computer, and then you can just follow the instructions, and then you download. If you are not using Windows and you are using other forms of operating system, so please share the link. Are you referring to the download link? I think people can see on the screen. So it's zotero.org/download. Let me see if I can Copy and all right, so I quickly share the link in the chat box. You could quickly log on to this link, and then it will allow you to download the app. And then if you are using, like I was saying, if you are using different operating systems, maybe Linux or Mac or something else, you can click on this installation help. It will give you other options. So after you are done installing this setup, the next thing you have to do is to now click on install Chrome connector, or it may show as install Safari connector, depending on the browser you're using. So these two are important. What installing this Chrome connector does is it installs a plugin, okay? It installs a plugin in your browser. And then the plugin in your browser is what would help facilitate your quick download of literature or other form of documents from the internet anytime you need them. So to do that, it's showing as Chrome because I use Chrome. Okay, so if you're using a different browser, it would pop up here as something different based on the browser you're using. So you could just quickly click on install the Chrome connector or whatever browser you're using, and that would install the plugin for your browser. After successfully installing the setup plus the browser connector, this is what you should have. You should see the Zotero tab, okay, in your Microsoft Word or whatever word processor you're using. You should see this tab here. That shows that you have successfully installed it. And then after successfully installing the browser connector, you should see the plugin extension pin over here. So the Z sign shows that I have installed Zotero extension or plugin in my browser. If you successfully installed it, but you are not seeing the extension over here, what you can do is you can just click on extensions in your browser. You can go to settings, click on extensions, and then you can just pin the extension so that it pops up here and it becomes a permanent pin. I hope that is clear, and that is what we need to proceed. Are we all, if you have Zotero 7, it's no problem. Yes. This, at the time I compiled this setup, it was Zotero 6 that was released. This is not a new document, it's an old document. If you have Zotero 7 or any other version, that should work fine. I hope we are all together. Are we leaving anyone behind? Is anyone having any challenge in terms of accessing the link? If I don't receive any feedback, I presume we are all on tune, and then we can proceed. All right, so, okay, so I guess we are all on tune. So now I would now open the Zotero app where we can basically commence our session. And because it's going to be quite an interactive and practical session, please, if you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat box. If I don't see Miss Jane or Miss Ho, that would draw my attention. Maybe I may not be checking the chat box too much, but I'm sure they will draw my attention. So if you have anything, perhaps if we leave you behind, or if you need some clarification on something I talked about or demonstrated, please feel free to indicate in the chat box. All right. Okay, so now allow me to now open the Zotero app, and then I'll share my screen. So because I'll be shifting between different screens, I would have to share my live screen. All right, so now this is the interface of the Zotero Reference Manager. All right, this is the interface of the Zotero Reference Manager. Your interface will not necessarily be as mine because I've been using it for a while. Okay, so you will not necessarily see all these files. You basically see the basic ones. Okay, you see this pane over here. You will see this middle pane, and then you would also see this right pane. And then basically this general interface. That is what you should see when you open your Zotero account or your Zotero Reference Manager for the first time. All right, so what we see here on the left pane is basically the pane, okay, or the section for your library as well as your folders. Okay, so anytime you create a new folder or a new library, it's basically going to be captured here. You see that I have different folders based on the particular research I'm working on. So you see here, aid and education, aid and poverty. So you see this way because I gather my literature based on the theme of research. So if I'm working on perhaps aid and education, I'll gather all my literature here under aid and education. If I'm working on aid and poverty, I also gather all the literature I want under this folder. So this section here is basically to create folders to be able to effectively arrange the documents you would be needing for your research work. And the section here in the middle basically outlines, okay, or it populates the entire document you have in a particular folder. So you realize that when I click on aid and poverty, all these documents are popping up because all these documents are in this folder. Earlier on, you realize I only had few documents in aid and education. So the middle section basically captures the document you have and then gives you the information about the authors here. And then over here on the right side is the pane that shows you more like the metadata of the document you have. So if I should click on this document, okay, this document says on the impact of foreign aid in education on growth. This section will basically outline or reveal the metadata about this particular paper. If I say metadata, we're talking about the background information, okay, about that paper. What's the title of that paper? Who are the authors? All right. In which journal was it published in? As you can see. So here it says Asiedu, Elizabeth, Nandua, Boas are the authors. It was published in the Review of World Economics. These are the volume, page, and other information. This is the DOI, and then this is the link to download this paper. So this should be the general overview of the Zotero interface that you should have. All right. And the next thing we are going to do is to see how we can import our documents. Okay, import our document. Like I said earlier on, if you are going to do research, you definitely need a reference management tool. If by now you are still typing out your citation, it means you are far behind. Because if you are going to publish a document, you may end up submitting to a particular journal, which perhaps has its preferred references style, maybe APA. And then that journal eventually rejects your paper. You want to submit to another journal. The journal says, no. Can you convert your referencing to Chicago or MLA? It means if you hand type, you now have to sit down and then hand type everything again to change it to the suitable references style that the journal is requesting. And perhaps if that journal rejects you and you have to submit elsewhere, it's going to be a whole lot of work. And so every researcher definitely needs a reference tool of some sort. The common ones are Zotero, EndNote, Mendeley. The reason why I use Zotero is because it's quite easy to use and it's also free. All right. There are others that are also quite easy to use, but some of them are not free, like EndNote. You may need some form of subscription to be able to use it fully. And so that is why I decided to use Zotero for our training today. Okay, so now we want to see how we can import documentations here and then basically start managing our literature. Is that okay? So for the sake of our workshop, I'll create a new folder. So perhaps you want to work on a particular theme. Okay, so we are going to name our theme workshop for everyone to be able to follow. So I want to create a folder here that I will gather all my documents in because I perhaps want to work on a particular research theme. Now you just have to click on this icon here, which says new collection. Once you click on it, it gives you this pop-up box and says, enter a name for this collection. So I'll enter the name workshop. Now this name can be, ideally I choose to go with the research team I'm working on so that at any point in time I open my Zotero app, I know that, okay, these are the papers on education. These are the papers on this thing. These are the papers on this thing. So we would name our folder workshop. Okay, I had an old workshop file here. So let's delete this collection. Okay. So I have it over here. So workshop here. I think I should open my chat box so that I don't miss out on. Oh, okay. So I think I already explained why I decided to settle on Zotero. So it's just a personal preference because Zotero is very easy to use and it's also free. So these are the two main things why I settled on Zotero. There is Mendeley desktop, there is EndNote, but I think EndNote is not free. Mendeley is also free, but I preferred Zotero ahead of Mendeley because I think the interface of Zotero is quite easy to use. All right, so we created our folder over here. All right, now creating this folder means we are going to perhaps do a research on the theme workshop. And so we have the opportunity to gather all the literature we need and put it in this folder. Now, perhaps you have a grant or a very big theme that you are working on, and you want to have subfolders under that particular folder. You can just also right-click and then click on New Sub-Collection. So if I choose New Sub-Collection, perhaps you want to divide your literature into those you inserted in introduction, and then those you inserted perhaps under the literature section. So you could also do it this way, all right? So you realize that after creating the main folder, I could create the subfolders of introduction and then literature. So I can put my papers here in literature as a subfolder. I can put it in introduction over here, or I can just basically put it in a workshop folder. That would also work well. Okay, so we will just work with the main folder of the workshop to make things quite easy. Now, because this is a training and we have limited time, I'm just going to only focus on the basics, not too advanced things, but just the basics so that people can catch up. All right, have you been able to create folders? Is anyone having any challenge in terms of creating a folder? Are we all together? Can I get some feedback? Perhaps if you are together, if you are following, you can just send a feedback in the chat box. That okay, go, okay, good, or something, so that I can basically that we are all making progress. All right, great. All right, so people are okay. So I think people are following along. All right, so now that's the first activity. So Abdul says, can you repeat the process? All right, so we'll quickly repeat the process since Abdul asked. So what we are doing is we want to create folders so that we can organize our papers and documents. All right. You cannot have all your documents in one folder. Perhaps you work on different projects. Okay, so it is better to organize your documentation according to your research topics or according to research project that you're working on. So for this example, we decided to just create a folder. So by creating a folder, you click on this new collection icon here to the left top side of your screen. And then you give it a name. We give it the name workshop. And then just click on OK. And that should create a new folder for you. So the workshop folder is what we have over here. All right. Now, there are many ways to import documents into your account. Not that you're too fast. Sorry for being too fast. Let me take my time. But thank you so much for the feedback. Okay. I think my main aim is to try to get people to follow as much as possible. Okay. So Sedira, thanks for drawing my attention that I'm going too fast. All right. Mr. Abdullah, have you been able to create the folder? Sedira, is there any problem you are having or any challenge you are facing? Okay, Abdul got it now. All right. Okay, so I'll take you to various approaches as to how to import items into your Zotero folder that you have created. Okay, the first one we are going to do is to use the object identifier. If you check your screen up here, you would see more like something like a magic wand. All right, it says here, add item by identifier. Okay, add items by identifier. All right, so when you click on it, it says that you can enter ISBN, you can enter DOI, you can enter PMID, any digital identifier you can add. And then Zotero will try its best to capture that item for you. All right, so I gathered some documents in order to save time so that I don't search online too much. Okay, so let's just try it out. Let's open a paper. Okay, let's open a paper and then use any of the IDs on that particular paper to try to retrieve that item from the internet. All right, so I'll try to use the DOI for this paper. Okay, so this is the paper's DOI. All right. So let's try to, since it accepts DOI, we can also try to use this DOI to see if Zotero will be able to. So I just highlight and I copy, and then I come up here to my Zotero object identifier, click here, and then I add this link to see what Zotero would report. So once you enter any identifier, Zotero basically tries to scan the internet, and then it will add that identifier for you. So realize that eventually it has been able to add the documents I inserted. This is World Bank aid and local multidimensional poverty in sub-Saharan Africa. If you check the paper, I tried to, that you realize that is the same thing it has added over here. Okay, so it means it's got it right. And Zotero has been able to retrieve the details of that particular paper. So over here on the right, you see that it has populated these sections. It's telling me that this is the title of the document I just inserted. These are the authors. This is the public journal it was published in. And then this is the DOI, and then this is the link to access it online. All right, so that is one way. Okay, that is one way to use the identifier. The one I use here is the DOI, Digital Object Identifier. But there are more others you can use, depending on your field. So ISBN, which is normally for books, okay, DOI, and then PMID. So let's try perhaps maybe for one of the PMIDs. I pre-saved some links, okay, in order to save time so I don't have to search online. So let's perhaps visit here, this journal, and then try to get another form of ID and then use that to add our document. Okay. So I visit this PubMed. All right. So it says here, this is the title of the paper, right? And then it gives PMID, all right? And then it gives DOI. So I can either copy this if you already have the DOI, all right, or the PMID, you can copy it and use the identifier to download it into your repository in your Zotero app. Okay, so let's try this PMID. I copy it. Okay, and then I come back to my Zotero objects identifier, click here, and then I can paste, and then just tap the enter key, and then Zotero will scan online, and then we'll be able to add the document you requested it to add in your items. So you realize that here, Zotero has been able to add that document. So as long as you have any digital object identifier or any form of ID, ISBN or whatever it is, Zotero can add that document into your Zotero folder. Are we good? Can I get some feedback? Are we making progress? Okay, great. So Abdul is catching up now. Great. I hope you are not leaving anyone behind. All right, great. So very good. Thanks so much for the feedback. All right. So now let's take a quick pause. You realize that there's a slight difference. If you check this first file, Doctor, what if there is no identifier? I think every document online, be it a book, okay, or a journal article, or a report, may have some form of identifier. If it doesn't have any other identifier, I will teach you how to also get it in there. Okay, so Larona would get there. If perhaps it's a custom document, maybe your own document or a report that was online, that doesn't have any official identifier, but you're able to download out. Go through as to how you can get it into your folder. Okay, so now you realize that there's a slight difference between this science paper, this cytoplasmic tail, and then the World Bank aid paper that's here. You realize that here there is a small arrow to the left side of this icon, and then there is a small icon over here. Now, in Zotero, every icon actually communicates the type of document you have in there. Let's click on this document, new item here, and then let's have a quick view. So you realize that there are different types of items you can add to your document. So Reverend Francis says some articles are not free. That's access to the DOI override such payment requirement. Great. All right, so the DOI is just the identifier to the item online. DOI means digital object identifier. So it has nothing to do with whether the paper is open access, that is for free, you can download it for free, or whether it is subscription-based. Subscription-based means you have to be subscribed, or your school has to be subscribed before you can download. If you require subscription to download, you cannot download unless you have subscription. Okay, so see the DOI more like as the link to that item on the internet. And so when you get there, now the subscription will now determine whether you can download or not download. If it's open access, it means anyone with a link can download. If it's subscription-based, it means once you are visiting the link, you'd have to be on the link of an institute that has subscribed to that journal. Or perhaps you would have already paid to access that journal before you can download. Reverend Francis, I hope that is very clear. So if you don't have access, the DOI that you use to identify the object from Zotero can only download the metadata. Like I said earlier on, the metadata is basically the background information of the paper. So it basically means you don't have to necessarily download the paper itself before you can cite it. You can download just the metadata, right? And you can still use it as citing or the information in your document. Just that if it requires subscription and you don't have subscription, you cannot download the PDF itself, but you can still download the metadata. So that's the difference between these two. You realize that here, okay, you see this small arrow here. This small arrow is telling you that it downloaded more than one file. The first file is what you see here over here. When you see this white icon here, it is telling you that Zotero downloaded the metadata of that journal article. Okay, so this white paper shows that it's a journal article. And then when you see this sign over here, it is telling you that in addition to this metadata, the author name, the publication information, and other stuff, it also downloaded the paper itself. So that's why you see this PDF icon over here. And this sign means attachment. All right. So if you see this icon here, it means Zotero downloaded the metadata or the citation information or reference information. And it also downloaded that paper because that paper was open access or for free. So if you click on this drop-down arrow, you see that you see the metadata here, then you see the PDF here, and then you see the link to the source. So if I double click on this PDF here, Zotero has an inbuilt PDF viewer. And then Zotero would show you that paper. So you realize that Zotero is not opening any other viewer. It has rather opened its inbuilt viewer. And then I can read this PDF, right? I can read. You can do virtually anything you want to do. You can highlight, you can make notes. So if you click here, you're able to basically highlight, all right? You can choose your color that you want. You can make notes, okay, or anything you want to do. And then you can add a comment, okay? So perhaps I can insert a comment on this line, say, this is our workshop that we are doing, all right? And then you can create a selection of an area. So all this is inbuilt in Zotero. So it means when you have the Zotero Reference Manager itself, you should be able to view PDF that you download into Zotero without necessarily needing another PDF. But you are just able to do basic commands like viewing, reading, highlighting, inserting comments, and text. You realize that here I already have other open PDFs. Okay, and then I'll just basically close them and then leave open the one we just opened. So this thing will be there until I decide to take it out. Anytime I open it will be there until I decide to right click and then change the color or click on delete. Going back here. All right. So if you don't see any arrow here, it means Zotero only downloaded the citation information, what I'm referring to as the metadata. So realize that for World Bank Aid here, it is not having any arrow here, neither is it having any PDF icon over here. The reason why this is so is because this paper is not open access. You require a subscription to download, or you would have to pay to download. And so that's why Zotero only downloaded this metadata or referencing information. Okay, and then when you see this icon, it's basically telling you that the document you have there is a journal publication. Okay, later on I'll talk about how to use this new item too. But when you come to more, you realize that you can add different forms or different steps over here. So we have artwork, books, book chapters. Okay, so the white you see there is basically a journal article. That's why it has that white icon. For example, if I choose book, you realize that to give me a different icon. So when you want to download and you see this icon in Zotero, it means what you have there is a book. If I perhaps want to download a book chapter, okay, or a book section, you realize that it will be an open book. So if you see this icon over here, it basically means the document you have is a book chapter or a book section, whilst this is a book. And then when you see this, it basically means the document you have is a publication. I hope we are all together. Any questions? Anyone lagging behind? So we have now learned about how to import documents using the object identifier. We want to now go to the next way you can import documents into your Zotero folders. Are we all following? Can I get some feedback? If you are following, can you just say, okay. If you have a problem, you can basically draw my attention. Can I get some feedback before we proceed? Okay, great. Thank you so much for the feedback. All right, now please, no one has to feel shy if you felt left behind. Okay, we are all studying. If you come here and you don't get anything productive, your time wouldn't have been spent for. Okay, so don't feel left back because everyone is saying, okay, if you have a question, don't worry if you are the only person. Feel free to indicate and then it will help you out. So the next way we want to now import a document is to use the browser connector, okay, the Zotero extension we saved into our browser. All right, so for that, this is my browser. Okay, this is my browser over here. So I'll visit one of my pre-saved links. Okay, so I saved some links here so that I don't have to search on the internet so that we can save time. So I'll visit this link. Perhaps you were online, okay, and then you visited this link. Is that okay? Maybe through Google Scholar or something else. And then this is the SAGE journal, specifically Africa Spectrum. When you visit the web page, okay, or the journal website, Zotero can help you download the paper right away from the browser into your folder. All right, so after visiting the website, you realize that if you correctly install your Zotero extension, you'll see the Zotero sign here. Now, Zotero is displaying this white paper, like I said earlier on, because it is telling me that I've visited this website and this website has a journal article. That's why Zotero is showing me this white paper. So the second way you can import documents right from the browser into your Zotero document, the Zotero folder, is to use this browser connector. If you install the browser connector but you are not seeing it, just click on extensions and then look for Zotero connector and then just pin it. And then it will always show. Okay, so the next way to add it is to, now, before you use this browser, make sure that the folder you want to save your document in is already selected. Okay, so I make sure that my folder here is selected. And then I can come back to the browser and I'll just have to click on this icon over here. Zotero is saying, I am saving this document to this folder. All right, I am saving this document to this folder. Your folder is called workshop. I am saving the metadata, that is the referencing information. And in addition to that, I am also saving the PDF. I hope you're all following. If you want to change the folder, you can now click on this drop-down arrow and then choose any folder you have already created in your Zotero app. All right, so it's telling me that this is what I am saving. And so if I should come here, you realize that it has already saved here for me. It says aid and governance, impact of Chinese aid on evaluation of government performance. It's telling me these are the authors' names, and then this is the journal it was published in. All right. So if you come back to the browser, you realize that just clicking here, you just have to click here, it automatically saves. If you can also just click on this drop-down arrow and then choose done, and then Zotero will still quickly download it for you. Is that clear? I'll just give some few seconds for people to try it out. Okay, I'll visit another link and then maybe a different website and then try that out. So I'll copy another link. All right, and then paste it here. All right, so this Science Direct of Sylvia. So this is also one other paper. I realize that I visited this paper. And then if I should click on this, Zotero is telling me I'm seeing a paper here. It's a journal article. Once I click here, Zotero is telling me I'm saving information to this folder. I can save the referencing information and then these ones. Now, if Zotero cannot save the PDF, perhaps it is not open access or it's not for free. Zotero will tell you here, it will bring a cross sign. And a cross sign or a red cross sign will tell you, okay, it means Zotero is telling you that it cannot access that PDF. Okay, so you realize that if I go back to my Zotero, you realize that it saved the PDF in addition, together with the referencing information. For this paper, it also saved the PDF and then the referencing information. Now let's try one that I don't have subscription to access to, okay? So if we try this one, if we have this one here and then we paste it in the browser over here, this one, it's not for free. You require a subscription or you'd have to buy. Let's see how Zotero will respond to that. All right, so I think the page is almost fully loaded. Normally you have to wait till your page is fully loaded so that everything is fully loaded and then Zotero will be able to respond. All right, so the same approach. I come here, I click on this add to. Zotero is telling me I'm saving to this folder workshop. All right, and it's able to save. And I realize that Zotero is telling me, okay, I can't download this full text. So you see this red sign. So it means Zotero is telling you that it can download the information you need to reference, but it cannot download the PDF because it requires payment or I don't have the subscription. All right, so if I should come into my Zotero app here, realize that here, it has over here, it downloaded the referencing information and then just a snapshot of the page I visited or the link to the website, but I didn't download the PDF. So this the results you get based on whether you have access to the journal to download open access, or whether you have access to download because you have a subscription. Perhaps if you are joining on your school internet and your school has subscribed to that journal, Zotero can download the full paper in addition. Now, is this second approach clear? Is anyone having any issues? Okay, so we have now learned about how to add using the identifier, and now how to add using the browser connector. Can I get quick feedback before we proceed? So at least one more different way. Okay, great. So I got good feedback. Okay, now perhaps you already have downloaded the paper onto your computer. Okay, you know, sometimes in the OAD page, someone will say, okay, can someone help me download this paper? And then a friend or a colleague who has access downloads that paper and then sends it to you. How can I get the referencing information and how can I import them into Zotero? Now, as long as you have that paper in your computer, Zotero can still find the needed information for you. Okay, so these are a list of papers I have. Okay. So now take note, these are papers I've already downloaded onto my computer, but they are not in my Zotero reference manager yet. Okay. It's very easy. You can just click and then drag into your folder, and then Zotero will still get all the needed information for you. So take note, I dragged this with a snapshot. So the snapshot is more like just a link to the website you download the paper, more like a link to the DOI. So the snapshot doesn't have any effect of on the referencing information. So for some, Zotero will not download the snapshot. For some, it will download. But that doesn't affect the referencing information. It doesn't make any change. I hope that is clear. All right, so now when you drag and download your paper, okay, when you drag and download your paper into the Zotero folder, what happens is Zotero will try to search online and get as much information as possible as it can for that particular paper you dragged and dropped. Is that okay? If it's a paper that was sourced online, Sharon says, I can't see. I'll come to you, Sharon, in a minute. So as long as that paper was sourced online, Zotero will be able to get some information on it for you. So now take note that this was the paper I dragged and dropped, and then Zotero has quickly gathered the information for me. It says political trust and American support for free trade. If you come over here, this was the paper I had dragged. If you should open it, you realize that it should give you the same title. Okay, so I'm opening the paper now, and this realize it's telling me the same thing. Political trust and American support for free trade. Okay, and it's giving me the DOI. So these are the information in the paper. And then just by dragging and dropping, Zotero has been able to download all this information. It has downloaded the article title, the author's name, the journal it was published in, and then the DOI, everything. Okay, I'll try one more time. So it's perhaps the paper is on your document on your PC anywhere. Just look for the folder. You can drag and drop as many. Okay, so I can drag and drop perhaps 3 or 4, as many as you want. So I can just highlight these 3. I'll just drag them from the folder and then drag them into my Zotero pane or my Zotero folder. And then Zotero will just spend some few minutes to look for these document information online. And then Zotero will tell me what is up. So it says PDF metadata retrieval. Okay, so Ashadu says, what about referencing a website and other sources? Okay, so we'll come to that soon. Okay, Ashadu. So it will spend some few minutes depending on how often you take, as in the number of documents you insert over there. Okay, and then now it gives you feedback. So when you see this tick green sign, it means Zotero was able to get all the needed metadata for that particular document. So now take note, you realize that the documents were Doros, Redel, and Jang. So the green tick here shows that Zotero got all the needed information for you to be able to cite that paper. All right, so you realize that it has been able to cite all of them. So this is the one of the papers. This is the other one of the papers, and then this is the other one of the papers. So Zotero has been able to gather all these things over here. Now, all right. So if we go back to our browser, okay, if we go back to our browser, now Zotero will show different signs here based on the website you are on. So if I'm on YouTube, Zotero would show me a very different sign. For example, if I should visit my website, okay, so if I should visit my website, you realize that the sign here, it has changed. Now this sign here, if you should click it, Zotero is telling me that I'm on a website, and then this is the information I can save. If I should click on done, okay, and then come to the Zotero app, you realize that this is the information Zotero is telling me I was able to save this web page. So this sign here, you see this blue paper here, is for a web page. And it's saying the title of the web page is Philip Atitiante. Okay, so it means when Zotero is saving other non-document information, you may have to now do some further editing. Now, every information here, you can always update and change. Now, you can always add information or delete. So I can perhaps right here, it's a personal website, right? You can put a date. I can make any change here. All right, let me change this name and make it Mike. So sometimes in some situations, if the document is not well curated online, some of the information here may not be filled, and then you can definitely also fill them in. So the person who asks about website, Zotero can basically save almost a lot of things online. If I should go to YouTube, okay, if I should go to YouTube, Zotero will tell me, okay, I can find something on that page. So Zotero basically uses its algorithm to try to detect what it can save from every page it is on. All right, so being on YouTube now, all right, now you realize that this is the sign that Zotero is. Now, sometimes it will take some time to load to be able to fully tell what it's finding. Okay, so if I click on this here, okay, Zotero is telling me, will tell you what it can save. It's saying, I can save this website. So you realize that it's still telling me website. All right, so now for those who perhaps are having problem with the extension, okay, what you had to do was what I showed earlier on. Okay, you go to Zotero, perhaps maybe let me do it on live. So if I go to Zotero, okay. So I go to zotero.org. So this is your zotero.org, right? And if you say click on this, that's where it will lead you to the page I showed earlier on. And then after you download, now is Zotero 7, okay? The document I compiled was the old document. Okay, I compiled it last some time back. So that's also showing Zotero 6. So you should just click on Install Chrome Connector. If your default browser is different, it may show something different here. And then if you are using maybe a very different operating system, you can click here, Zotero connectors for other browsers. If you click here, it will give you other options. It can install for Firefox connector or Microsoft Edge or Safari. So those who ask the question, I hope you are following. And then you just choose the browser you would want to install it for. And then after you finish installing, it will be added to your extensions. Okay, you can go to your settings and then go to extensions. So I'm using Google Chrome. So this is where I find my extensions. And then if I click on extensions, I should see Zotero. Okay, so you realize that here shows all the extensions I have in my browser. All right. And so if I should click here, you realize that this gives me more like a list of the extensions. And I just choose, I pin. Pin means to make it permanent here to pop up so I can always see it. I hope that helps. Those who asked the question, Sakib And then I think someone else asked. Okay, I hope that helps. Can we proceed? And then I also saw a question about copying and paste. The dragging works best. Okay, the dragging into the folder works best. So just drag and then drop, and that should work well. All right. I would now quickly maybe show one more using Google Scholar, and then we can maybe switch to something different. But before I proceed, are we together? Are we all following? Can I see some feedback in the chat box? So okay, so I got all right, great, very good. So we are all following through. All right, so now almost all of us use Google Scholar, right? So if I use Google Scholar to search for my literature, how can I use it in such a way that it's easy to use Zotero? So now remember Google Scholar, we can use any keyword. Okay, we can use any keyword to look for the document we want. So since my field is about Chinese aid, I can just type Chinese aid and then search. And then it gives me a list of the documents that bear the keyword Chinese aid. How can I quickly get it from Zotero, from Google Scholar straight away into Zotero? Now, you can use this approach, ideally, perhaps as the last option, if you just want a very quick way to gather your referencing information. Is that okay? So normally, this approach that I'm come to show you should not be the priority. You can use Google Scholar to search, and then you can follow the link. For example, you can follow the link and then use the Zotero connector to download right away from the browser plugin, or you can use the object identifier here. But in case none of this perhaps is something you want to do because you just want to quickly gather some literature from Google Scholar. So what you can do is to, when you search for your keyword, you can just come to any of the documents you want to gather or you want to download their reference information. So maybe I want to download only the reference information of this particular paper. You just click here, Cite. Okay, if I click here, Cite, it will give me a pop-up here. All right. So of this pop-up, just click on RefMan. If you click on RefMan, Zotero will download the referencing information. Okay, so we realize that here it says Research Information System Document, RIS. We call it RIS document. You can give it any name. So I can give it the name, maybe workshop, or the paper's title, maybe Chinese aid. Okay. And then it's saved into my folder. Okay, it's saved into my folder. So you realize I saved over here. And after downloading it, I can now also import it into my Zotero. So if you open your Zotero here, and perhaps you downloaded the Research Information System, you can come here to File, choose Import. And then it says here File. Okay, just choose a file. And then go to Next. And then look for where you save that Research Information System. I saved it in our workshop folder called Chinese aid. I click on it. I click on Open. And then it tells me, should it place the collection, the item in the collection? I just click OK or tick it and then choose Next. And Zotero would import that Research Information System I saved. So you realize that it has imported that Research Information System I saved. And then it just gave me the reference information I need to cite the document. Is that okay? So that is the last maybe measure, but it's not the most effective. So I don't normally recommend that. You just use that when you want to quickly pull in maybe various literature sources. I think you can use that option. Now, another thing is anytime you visit a website or a web page that has multiple documents, Zotero would always show you a folder icon. When you see the folder icon, Zotero is telling you that I am seeing a lot of documents on this page. So you would have to choose which document you would want me to download. So realize that here, Zotero is telling me I'm seeing all these documents. Select the ones you would want me to download. They are referencing information. So if I click on maybe a few, so let's choose this 3 and click on OK. And then Zotero will tell me I'm saving this document to, now we don't want to save in Chinese 8 folder. I want to save in our workshop folder. I choose workshop. All right, I choose workshop and then I click on done. And then Zotero would save those I selected into my workshop folder. So I come here, I choose realize aid with Chinese characteristics, it's favoritism. So I realize that Zotero has downloaded the ones I selected, geopolitics, aid, favoritism. The ones I selected, Zotero has quickly downloaded this into my folder. All right. So now I realize that even for the ones that they were open access, Zotero downloaded the paper as well. So I realize that here, Zotero downloaded the paper as well. Okay. So if you have to download a lot of papers, perhaps you are going to start a new research topic. We just want to download as many research papers related to that topic that you want. This is a very good approach. Come to Google Scholar, type in the keyword, and then Zotero will give you a whole, Google Scholar will show you a whole list of various papers that have been published. And then just come here, Zotero will show you a folder, click on the folder, and then choose or select all the papers that you would want to quickly download. Once you select all of, you can choose select all, Zotero will select everything. And then if you click on OK, Zotero will download every information possible. If it's open access or if you have subscription, Zotero will download the PDF in addition. Okay, so this would work well if you want to quickly download this. So this is also what you call it, a very effective approach to download a lot of papers at the same time, right? But the one I showed earlier on using this site, I think that is least effective. This one is a better way. So here, you realize I can download all these papers just at a go, just by coming to Google Scholar and then using Zotero. And then you realize that it tells me all the ones it's able to download its PDF. That's what it has shown me over here. And then everything here would be in my Zotero folder. I realize I have a lot of documents in there now. Are we making progress? Are we all together? Can I get quick feedback? We are running out of time, so I would count on your quick feedback. All right. Okay, great. Great. Very good. Okay, please remember, if you have a question, feel free to ask. Don't feel shy. All right, so I think I've done enough approaches as to how to import documents. Okay, so I am going to the final way to import, because we also have to learn about how to cite. All right, the final way on how to import, okay, is perhaps, I think one person asked, what if there is no digital object identifier? What if it's a custom document? That's perhaps a ministry report. Okay, you know, sometimes our government websites, there are no digital object identifiers there. They just put a PDF there and you download and there's no reference information. How can you go about adding it in Zotero so that you can cite? So what you can do is, I already created a custom document. Okay, so this is a custom document I created earlier on to save time. It's just a PDF with one line. Okay, so this is a document, all right? This is a document. So it says this as a Zotero workshop. So let me close everything. So like I said earlier on, what you do is you want to create a custom document. There are many ways. So one way is that you can come here, all right, and then choose the item you would want to develop or you would want to modify or you want to customize. So maybe it's a report or a newspaper article. All right, so let's assume the document I showed you earlier on is a document. So I'll choose document. And then this is what Zotero is. You realize that the icon for document is different. It's just a plain paper. And then after it has created this icon here, I make sure that icon is selected. And then I come here and then I'll just fill it in. What is the title? The title of that document is Workshop Guideline. What's the author? The author is Philip. My surname is Atianti, so I'll type my Atianti here. And then I will type in maybe the first name here as Philip, right? So workshop guideline, Philip. Is there any abstract? You put it there. Is there a publisher? Is there a date? What is today's date? Today is, let's assume today is 4th October, okay? The language, short title, URL. Is there a particular website where you downloaded the paper from? Maybe you could put it there, maybe Philip at atianti.com. So you can fill in all this information yourself. And then after you fill it in, if you are going to cite it, Zotero will use the information you inserted here to cite. You can do the same for any custom document. So you come here next time around, maybe we will not choose a custom document. We may choose a newspaper article. Maybe you read a hard copy newspaper, right? You can create a referencing information. So realize that is the icon for newspaper article. What's the newspaper article? Maybe it's a newspaper article. The article was workshop tips, right? And then where was it published? Which newspaper? You can fill it in. Maybe the Daily Times. Place. Is it UK? Is it Ghana? Is it wherever? You just fill in all this information, section, page. So this gives you room such that even if you are dealing with documents that don't have online identifiers, you can still reference them in your work. All right. So now after I create this thing or this information here, I can now come here. I can now drag my document here and then submerge it under. How do I submerge it? By just putting it directly on top of that icon. It will become part of that icon and realize that now it's under it. So it means you realize that it now picks its name. All right, so it says your workshop tips. If I should open this document, it shows the exact document that I showed you earlier on. This is our Zotero workshop. Are we following? All right, so that is one way you can go about it. You first create the reference information, and then you drag and drop your document on top. Another way, okay, maybe the second approach is first, maybe I would first drag the document and put it into my Zotero folder. All right, and then it shows your document. And then now I can right click, okay, and then I can choose generate report from item or create parent item. So if I create parent item, Zotero will give me room to create whatever I can use manual entry because that document doesn't have any information. When I choose manual entry, the same thing. I choose the document type. Now this time around, let's say it's a conference paper. What's the title? The title is workshop session. And then I fill it in the author and then everything. And then you can still cite it in your documentation or your paper that you're working on. I hope that answers the question that was asked concerning what if the document doesn't have any digital identifier. Maybe the person who asked can confirm. And I think that should run up in terms of the session on how to import. Any question? I want to run up on how to import so that we look at something else. Any question? If you are good, can you just respond? Okay, so that I know we are all good and that we are all making progress. Can you just respond in the chat box? If you are good, just type okay. If you have a question, just quickly pop it up. We'll give some few seconds. All right, so, okay, great, very good. So it means we are all following along. All right, that's good. Okay, so now we will definitely would have to be citing in a document that we are writing. Maybe you are writing your thesis, or maybe you are writing research, whatever it is. How then do we link this that we have over here to whatever we'll be working on? Okay, so I'll open my Word document. I'll create a new, I'll come back later and then we'll look at these things, okay? So let's create a new document over here. All right, so you realize that if you correctly installed it, your Zotero tab should be working. All right, so give me a minute. I'm not seeing my tab here. Just give me a minute. I'll reshare my screen. Let me quickly fix. Now, please, just give me a minute. If you have a question, you can ask. I want to quickly fix it because my Zotero tab has vanished. So I want to quickly fix it. Okay, so if you have a question, you can type it in there. And then I'll quickly get back. Just a few minutes. All right, so it's fixed now. Let me quickly reshare my screen. Okay, can you give me confirmation if you can see my screen? Did I miss out some questions? Okay, no missed out. Can I get feedback if you're able to see my screen? All right, great. All right, so if you are doing research, at least you know you definitely do at least two forms of citation, right? In-text citation, you would have to do maybe a direct in-text citation or referencing or indirect. So I'm going to take us through the direct and then the indirect approach. Sometimes people use the Zotero to wrongly generate the indirect referencing. When you do that, it will complicate your work and it will make things quite difficult. So let's try a very quick practical approach. So let's populate in some words. This is our workshop, right? It is being held on Zoom. Okay, and then maybe you may end up writing a lot of things in your research work. And perhaps you've entered a statement here and then you want to make a direct, let's start with indirect. You want to make an indirect. Indirect means you have made a statement and you are inserting a list of references, okay, a list of works that corroborate the statement you are making. Or maybe to make it practical, let's write something like Chinese aid, okay, improves economic growth, right? You make such a statement. Chinese aid improves economic growth. This a similarly factual statement that you've made, and you definitely need some research evidence to back it. So how do we back it with an indirect citation? What you do is you just come here and click on your Zotero tab here. If you correctly installed it, you should see this Zotero tab here. Okay. If if you, sometimes when you are installing and then the Word document is open, it may give you problems. So normally when you are installing the Zotero, make sure that your Word processor or your Word document is closed. Every Word document is closed, and then you can proceed with the installation. All right, so I want to do an indirect in-text citation. How do I go about it? So here, okay, I've said that Chinese aid improves economic growth. I want to make a list of studies that give evidence that Chinese aid actually improves economic growth. So you would come here, you click on add/edit citation. Okay, you click on it. And then because if you are going to insert a reference or a citation in the document for the first time, you would always see this pop-up box. Zotero will tell you which type of citation style do you want to go with. Okay, here is a list. Okay, here is a list of the citation style. Let me just make a note about something I want to add later on. So here's a list of the citation style. All right, so it says an American Chemical Society, we have APA, you have Chicago, all right, you have Elsevier, you have Nature. Now, if by any chance, perhaps there is a citation style you need to use, which is common, worldwide, globally known, but you are not seeing it here in the list here, just choose Manage Styles. Okay, and then when you choose Manage Styles, it gives you this pop-up box. And then you can use this pop-up box to search for other styles. So you can, if the styles that you want are not popping up here, you can just choose, click on Get Additional Styles. And then it will take you to another database where you can search using keywords, and then you can download or you can import that referencing style, that citation style. So realize that here there are 10,525 citation styles recognized globally, but only few were showing in my Zotero pop-up box. Okay, so you can just go through, or you can just search with the keyword here to make it easier. You can use any of these options to create a filter search. All right, and then you can just click on it, and then it can get added to your list. So if I should click on this, it gives you a preview. If you are going to do citation, this is how it's going to work. So for example, if I should select this, okay, it means I'm clicking to add it to my pop-up list over here, right? And then it will get added. And then once it gets added, you click on OK, and then you can put it. So you realize that it's added over here. Acta Naturae. So that's what is added here. And then you can just click on OK, and then it works well. I don't want to go too much into advanced details, but that's how you can add if the citation style. Some of us are maybe in very deep scientific field or different science field, which require different form of referencing. This is how you can use to get yours if yours is not among the commonly known ones. Because the list you see here are the list of commonly used ones. So if it's not here, you just have to click on Get Additional Styles, and then use a keyword to search, or use the filters to search, and then just select it, and then that should work well. And then after you choose, all right, you just click on OK, and then Zotero should be ready to function. Is that okay? So now I'll come back, I'll do the practice again. So I will choose APA, okay, American Psychological Association. Now make sure it is set to automatically update citation, so that anytime you add a new word, Zotero would automatically update the record for you. And then I'll click on OK. So once I click on OK, now this dialog box only pops up the first time you are coming to insert a citation. All right, so Zotero will quickly load a dialog box. So now here is where you type any keyword. The keyword can be the author's name. It can be any keyword in the title. Anything that basically comes to your mind about that paper, perhaps the journal name, any keyword you remember, you can just type it over there. So I have stated that Chinese aid improves economic growth. I know the list of papers I want to cite as evidence to this statement. I can just type Chinese aid. And then what happens is Zotero will search my whole library. It will not only search the folder that I created, that workshop folder. It will not only search the workshop folder. It will search your whole library. All right. And then look for the keyword Chinese aid. And then give you a list of all the papers, of all the documents or literature that has the keyword Chinese aid. And then you can just choose. So it says here, Chinese aid and social ties, Chinese aid. It's showing multiple times because I've downloaded that paper in certain Zotero multiple times. So it means I have to clear the excess ones. And then it shows here Chinese aid project, right? It shows here Chinese aid and crime. Okay. And then it shows, now I have multiple of those papers because sometimes maybe through workshop, I download the same paper, or sometimes my personal works, I end up replicating paper. That's why you see some of them multiple times. All right, so we realize it's showing me all the papers that have the keyword Chinese aid. So I can just click on the paper I want to cite. I click on it. Now, if you are doing indirect citation, okay, indirect means you are not directly saying this author is saying this, right? But you're just giving a list of papers to back the statement you've made. That's what we call the indirect. So here, all right, I just choose, and then if I want to cite more papers, I can just type any keyword. For example, I can just type even my own name, and then it will show me papers that bear my own name. So you realize that it's showing me all papers that bears my name. And then I can click on it, right? So I can just click here. And then maybe another keyword. Okay. Any keyword that comes to your mind about that paper, you can type it. Zotero will try its best. So you realize that I just typed international development. And Zotero is giving me all the papers that were published in Journal of International Development. So you realize that here, it's giving me Journal of International Development. And here it's giving me another paper that has keyword international. All right, here it's giving me paper that has a title, International Development. So it will always work with any of the keywords. So I can just click on any of them. So I click here. And then when you have added as much as you want, you can just click on enter, and then Zotero would automatically add a list for you. So this is what we call the indirect in-text citation. Can I get quick feedback? Are we all together? Can I quickly get feedback before I add any other information? Are we all together? Are we all making progress? All right, great. Great, great. All right, okay, so there's the in-text citation, all right? Now, anytime you use Zotero to populate this information, anytime you highlight over it, you realize that Zotero automatically selects everything. That is telling you that Zotero automatically generated this. You didn't type it out yourself. And so anytime you see this, don't do any manual or custom edits here. Else, you would have problem when you are trying to generate your bibliography or reference list. So don't make any manual change here. Don't type anywhere. No, you need Zotero to do any change. You just can give Zotero the command. So for example, I've typed, but I realized that, okay, there's a new paper that also gives evidence to this statement. Let me add a paper. Now you can just click here on the list here, and then just choose this icon again. Click on this add or edit citation. And then you can go back, and then it gives you opportunity to edit. So maybe I can add another paper. I can maybe add, add foreign direct investment. Okay. If I type the word foreign direct, it will give me all papers that have this keyword, and I just choose any of them. All right, I add this, I press enter, Zotero will add a new document. So it means you can always come back at later times to always make changes to your list. Is that okay? Now, sometimes you want to be very particular in terms of where the evidence is. Maybe this document or this paper, chapter 4, or maybe this book, chapter 4, or this paper, page 6. is where I am referring to. Sometimes some people wrongly come here and then they come and type here, maybe chapter 4, maybe or page 4. When you do that, you are playing with Zotero's inbuilt system generation, and that would later bring errors when you want to now generate your reference list. So never do such thing. If perhaps you want to add reference specific information, always just click on it. Okay, come here, click on add or edit. And then what you can do is you can use the options here to specify. So maybe I want to say that for ASEEDU, okay, I want to specify the page where I'm getting the information from. This is the page. This is the page option, right? So maybe I got it from page 6. I just have to type here page 6. If I should click enter, you realize that it automatically enter the page for me. So you realize that here it's saying ASEEDU, I got this information from page 6. If I want to add more specifics, I just click here. I come back to add or edit. Maybe Atitiante. I click on Atitiante. Okay. Maybe I want to add, depending on the document, if it's a book or a book chapter, maybe Atitiante was a book, right? That I inserted. I can click on chapter. And then I say, okay, chapter 7. Right? Chapter 7. Once I click on OK, you realize that it will automatically do that for you. Okay. It will insert the chapter number. All right. So you can always do the specifics over there. And then you can always clean. So let's clean that down to chapter 7. All right. So you can always use these options to specify more minute details. Is that okay? And then here is prefix. You know, sometimes you want to have things like C, for example. Okay, don't come here and come and type here C, maybe for example, this literature. You know, sometimes you want to add reference information, you want to add some notes. If you do this, you are tampering with the inbuilt code, and it will give you problems later on when you want to generate your list or reference or your bibliography. So never type into these sections where Zotero automatically generates. If you want to add any other notes, just click here, just come back to the add or edit citation. And then you can always add the prefix. Okay. C, for example. All right. You can add any prefix. And then it will always do that for you. So it says 6, for example. All right, ASEEDU 2006. And then page 6. You can always, and then you can add one at the end, maybe so you can add a suffix here once you type this here. Okay. These are vital papers. Once I do that, it automatically add those notes. Are we together? Can I get quick feedback? So this is how you go about doing your in-text indirect citation. I hope you're all together. Can I get quick feedback? All right, great. Okay, so I guess we are all doing very good. All right, now how about if we want to do a direct citation? If I say direct citation, Atitiante found out that this author and this author found out that this author revealed that Chinese aid. So I write, maybe I want to say something like author, okay, reveals that Chinese aid is declining. Seems someone is writing on my screen. Can the host do something about it? All right. So I want to maybe write something like the author of a particular paper. You know, sometimes what we do is we write Atitiante, maybe 2024. Right. and then we'll type something like reveals that or shows that or finds that. How do you go about it using Zotero? Don't come here and come and do something like this. Okay, don't do something like, all right, I'll type this and I'll come and find Atitiante, and then I'll type, press OK. And then I'll come and put a bracket here. And then I'll clean this one. When you do that, you are tampering with Zotero's inbuilt system, and it would eventually give you problems later on when you want to develop your bibliography. So don't do this, okay? Anytime you want to do something like this, how should you go about it? Okay. Now what you can do is just type the author's name. All right, type the author's name first, and then insert the cursor where you want to put the reference, and then click on add or edit. Right, click on add or edit, and then type the author's name.
Hello.
Hello. I think it's a random open mic.
Please,
All right.
can you mute yourself if you are not, can you mute yourself, please?
Oof.
You are distracting the teacher, please.
Nunca rea, very guys.
Or the admin can help you.
Huda, please, can you mute that person that is making the noise?
All right.
Okay, let me see.
All right. So just type any keyword you choose the author. All right. Once you choose, just click on it and then click on omit author. If you omit author, Zotero will just keep the year. So when I do it this way, realize that Zotero just only keeps the year. So in this way, I have not tampered with the inbuilt Zotero, and I can always automatically generate the information I want. Okay, so this is the direct approach to in-text citation, where you mention the author's name and then the paper. Yeah, if it's perhaps the list of authors, you just add Atitiante 2023 reveal that. Okay, and then you can be able to generate. So now, having gone through all this,
Hello.
having gone through all this, all right, maybe you want to now create your reference list or bibliography. How do you go about it? So what you can do is to just, okay. So Ashadu says, okay, so let's go over it again. All right. So let's go over it again, no worries. So you are creating your document, okay? When you are creating your document, there are mostly two ways you would want to cite as you are writing your document. One is the indirect form, and the other is the direct form. What I did earlier on over here is the indirect, where you make a statement and then you give a list of documents or a list of literature that supports that document statement you made, or that talks about the statement you made. So for example, okay, we can write something like Chinese aid, okay, erodes trust in African economies. I have read papers, and the general understanding I've gotten is that Chinese aid erodes trust in African economies. If it's a research work, you can't just write this factual statement. You need support. Okay, you need support to do that. So how do I then insert the support? So that's what I did first one. You just come here, click on add/edit citation, and then type any keyword because you know the paper you want to cite to support this statement. So maybe I want to cite the paper by Atitiante. So I can just type Atitiante and then click on it. And then maybe there's another paper title I know. I can just type development. And then it will give me all the papers with keyword development. and I just choose it. And then just fill it in and then just go on and then just press enter. And then it automatically does that for you. So you realize that anytime I click it, Zotero automatically highlights everything, telling me that Zotero is the one that did this thing. So I don't have to tamper with anything in here. Ashadu, I hope this first approach is clear. And I said, in case you want to add specifics, maybe page number or chapter number, you can still click on it, come here to add/edit citation, and then just click on the paper you want to add the specifics. If I want to add specifics here, I click on this, I choose page, and I want to say, okay, this paper, the reference is in page 7. I click on enter, it will automatically add page 7. No one should type anything in here. If it's a note you want to add, just click, come here, and then if it's a note, just choose whether you want to bring it before or after. All right. And then you just choose the note, okay? Add suffix, prefix, or suffix, or maybe see, for example, these papers. I click on enter, and then it tells me. So by this, you can put a message in front, in the middle, or at the end. So this is the first approach. If it's a book that you're citing and you want to make reference to the book chapter, okay, you can always do that. So let's assume this is a book. I can always click here and choose chapter number, column number, paragraph. In fact, you even have paragraph. So I can say paragraph 7, right? And then you choose, you press enter. It will always do that for you. And now the next one was the direct citation. I want to say Ashadu, right? Maybe I have a paper by Ashadu. Ashadu finds that Chinese aid leads to declining trust in government. Maybe I want to say Ashadu 1992. Okay. Now, you don't have to type out these numbers yourself, because if you type it out yourself, Zotero will not be able to make use of that information there. Neither should you say that, okay, this is what I'll do. I'll insert it directly and then I'll make editing. Don't do it this way. Don't do something like this. You select this and then you type enter, and then now you try to edit here. Don't do something like, when you do that, you'll be creating errors in Zotero's code. When you do something like this, you'll be creating errors in Zotero code, and then later it will give you problems. I'll give a demonstration later. All right. So instead of doing this, what you can do is to rather insert the same way you did for the first one. Click on add edit, add the author, okay, or any keyword. Click on it this way. And then once you finish inserting it here, click and then choose omit author. Here it means we are choosing to take out the author's name. You only want the year. And then once I click on this, I press enter. Zotero would only keep the year. And I'm sure everything will work really, really well. Ashadu, I hope that is okay. All right. Now, I've seen some of your questions. I'll try and answer as much as I can. I can't guarantee that I'll be able to answer all the questions, okay? So now, perhaps you want to create a reference list, okay? Or maybe a bibliography, whatever it is. How do I go about it? So you just insert the cursor wherever you want to insert the list, and then choose add/edit bibliography. And then when I click on this, Zotero automatically insert the list of all the documents I've cited. So you see here, it's telling me I've cited Abuaje, I've cited Ashid, I've cited Atetiante, and then Cruzati. I hope you are following. So I'll give you some few seconds for you to try it out and then give me feedback. Try and generate your bibliography based on what you have discussed so far. You realize that here, when you select, everything will automatically be selected, telling you that Zotero was the one that automatically generated this. Few seconds to give it a quick try, and then kindly give me feedback. If it's working well, if you are following, if you are okay, just type okay, so that we can make progress. Any feedback? Are we together? Is anyone left behind? Okay, Lydia says she's catching up. All right. Now, family, I'm counting on your feedback to proceed. Okay, I don't want to leave anyone behind. That's why I give a few seconds after every session. All right, so few more seconds. If you are following through successfully, just let us know in the chat box that okay, I got it. Okay, and then we can proceed. So Marama says she's lost. Marama, can you specify which section are you lost? Is it at the generation of the bibliography? Can you specify which part you are lost? All right, so as we wait for Marama, okay, Marama says the bibliography. All right, so I'll quickly repeat. So I presume Marama already got this part, right? So where you have done your in-text direct citation and then the indirect citation. How do I generate my bibliography? Now you just insert your cursor, your mouse cursor, into the place where you would want the bibliography to start. It can even be the next page. For example, I can come here and I'll say, okay, let me insert my bibliography in the next page. So I come here, I type here bibliography, right? And then I insert the cursor below. And then you just come up here and then type r/edit bibliography. Is that okay? When I click it, it automatically puts in every document I cited automatically. You realize that quickly, it has automatically inserted everything I cited in my work. So when I click, everything will be automatically selected, which means Zotero is the one that automatically generated everything. I hope that is okay now. All right. So now let's assume, let's create a new document. Okay, let's create a new document. So I've created a new document. I type workshop, okay? And then let's do a quick cite. So I come to Zotero, I cite. Now, because it's the first time, it will give me this pop-up. I click on OK. And then let's cite some information. So let's type China. And then I choose maybe this paper. I click on enter. And then I come inside here and I come to type directly here. C for example, this paper. And I put this there. And then I now come and do another one. I type maybe Atitiante. Let's make it this way. Found out that, right? Chinese is helpful. So type it this way. Maybe I want to insert the author here. And then I do something like, okay, the error. I'm trying to present an approach for you to see how erroneous that other option could be. So I type Atitiante over here. It gives me the Atitiante paper. I select it, and then I come here to come and insert the bracket. I clean this one, and then I clean this one. Now, if I try to generate the bibliography, sometimes it can give you problems, depending on the kind of editing you do. So if I generate it this way, and then later on, I have to go and do changes. Okay, realize that here it works. Later on, sometimes, if you have to go and do changes here, Zotero will start giving you a query. You see? Zotero is telling you, you have modified this citation since Zotero generated it. Editing it will clear your modification. Do you want to continue? It is telling you, this is what Zotero wrote. Zotero wrote Adumbi and Stan 2019. Your modified one says, see, for example, this paper, Adumbi and Stan 2019. All right, so to avoid this error, you don't have to directly be typing into what Zotero automatically generate. So once you click on OK, it would now clear whatever change you did. And then if I try to make change to this one, to give me the same error. Later I've seen that you have done something to this thing. If I click on OK, it will clean the change that I did. Right. So it means there's no, you just don't have to tamper with Zotero's code. I hope that is clear. Now, for example, you used APA. Okay, remember this is APA, right? You used APA and then you submitted a paper to a particular journal. And then the journal rejected it. And then you want to submit to another journal, but the other journal requests for Chicago style. How do I quickly change from APA to Chicago? All right, that's what I want to focus on next. How do I change from APA to Chicago? I'll just have to now maybe just come to document preferences. Click on document preferences over here, and then just change it. It's a very simple approach. You realize American Psychological Association, APA is selected. I just choose Chicago, and I click on OK. And then it will automatically change everything. So you realize it automatically changed. So I think earlier on, I saw a question. Someone was asking, what if I want to convert the in-text here to numbers? Because some referencing style use numbers. Just do the same thing, okay? Just change the referencing style. Okay, just change the referencing style to what I discussed earlier on. So just click on any aspect where you did the referencing, and then just choose the style. And then it will automatically go with the style. If the reference style using the numbers system, it will go with that. If it uses the lettering system or the author name, it will go with that. So you don't have to necessarily tamper by doing your own custom styles. It will automatically follow. So realize that here, the Chicago order forms uses numbers. So it changed my in-text to numbers. Now remember, this one is Chicago Manual of Style 17 edition. Okay, so you realize I change here to 1, 3, 2. And if I go here, automatically it has updated it. So those of you who use, I think those in law, right? If I'm correct, some of you in law, your publication requires you to use footnotes. So if you have already done your paper in the normal bibliography section, you don't have to now clean everything and come and change it to footnotes. If you use Zotero to develop it, you can just change the referencing style and then it will automatically convert it to footnotes. Okay, and then you realize that here it has changed the bibliography. So now it lists all the bibliography here. So that's why I always encourage you, never should you manually type out your referencing information, because when you do that, you are going to heap workload upon workload upon workload upon workload on yourself. I hope that's clear. Is there any question or is anyone left behind? Sharon says, do you need to have all your papers or articles in your library? No, you don't need the papers. You just need the referencing information. Now, remember, when we're in Zotero, okay, this is our workshop folder. If you see this white icon here, it means Zotero has the referencing information. Even if it doesn't have the paper, you can still cite. Okay, so this icon over here shows that Zotero has this reference. This is the reference information that Zotero needs, all this. So you can even manually type out yourself. So as long as Zotero has this information, it can cite. Now you realize that here you see PDF icon, but some of them you don't see. For example, this one doesn't have this PDF icon. Okay. This one was open. For some of the papers, they may not have PDF icon. For example, these papers. It means it doesn't have the paper, but it has the referencing information. And as long as I have this referencing information, that's enough. I can always cite it. Okay, let's take note of this title, The Geopolitics of Chinese. Now take note, it doesn't have any arrow here. It doesn't have any paper. Let's try to see if we can cite it. So the title was The Geopolitics of Chinese Aid. If I come here, okay, and then I type, maybe I type here, Geopolitics of Chinese. Geopolitics isn't helpful. and I want to cite that paper, I come here, I type add/edit. And I'll type any keyword. I remember the keyword geopolitics. Right. Great. So you see geopolitics of Chinese aid. I see another geopolitics aid, whatever it is here. So this is the paper we saw. I click on it, I press enter. Is that okay? Zotero would be able to add. Now, okay, if you click on refresh, sometimes you don't have to click on refresh. Zotero automatically populates it for you. Okay, Zotero will add that information to you. I'm trying to see. So that is it over here. If you can see, Brand Philippa, the geopolitics of Chinese aid. Now, one more thing that we have to take note of. For example, maybe you realize that this paper, you started it, but you realize that it only has a very little information. You know that this paper maybe was published in a particular journal, but Zotero didn't capture it. Should I have to now delete this and go and delete that paper over there? No, you don't have to do that. You can just go to Zotero over here, look for that information that you cited. So realize that here, there is no volume. Now, if you know the information, you can just either download a new referencing information or a new metadata, or you can type it yourself. Maybe the paper was published in maybe OAAD journal, right? If I type here OAAD journal, volume, if I type here volume 5, issue 30, no, let's make it issue 4, volume 5. The pages are 20. I hope you are following. Okay. And then let's maybe type some DOI, maybe 101.9996662. I just fill in this information. Okay. Now I've filled in this information. Now, if you click on this one, you realize that this information is now here. If I come back to my document over here, right, and I click on refresh, okay, so if you click on refresh, either Zotero would be able to automatically link it up again and refresh it, or you can just remove that referencing. Now, the reason why Zotero is not referencing that is what I referenced was, it's duplicated. So I referenced this one, right, instead of that one. That's why Zotero is not automatically updating it, because it's duplicate, but Zotero ended up recording this. So let's perhaps clean this one. Okay, let's move it to trash. Okay, and then let's try it out again. If it doesn't work, we may have to now redo it again, because sometimes the duplicates can give you problems. So let's remove the duplicate over here. Okay, so this was it. Okay, this was number 4. So we clean it. Okay, and then we can now add it again. So let's add. Did I remove it? Okay, I removed it. Geopolitics. So realize that now it's only one over here, and now it's telling me OAAD journals. When I click on it, I click on enter. All right. You see here, it's now automatically updated. OAAD journal, volume 5, issue 4, 2015. Right? It has 20 pages, and then it's the DOI. Meanwhile, I manually just type out everything here. So sometimes when you do your bibliography list, okay, and some of them are missing, just look for the ones that are missing and just go and update them in your Zotero metadata, and then it automatically updates in your Word document when you click on refresh. I hope that works well. I think our time is running down. Are we all together? Any one left behind? Can we proceed to the next thing? Quickly, family, can you give quick feedbacks? If you're okay, if you're following, just type yes or okay. Any of them will do. So that I'm sure. All right, Asadi says okay. Great. So that's good to hear. All right, powerful. Thank you so much. So now, one other thing that perhaps some of us may also find helpful is you may perhaps work from different computers, right? Maybe you are someone who is a lab guy or a lab woman. You have your work you do, but to change the reference list to block. Samsung, I don't really understand your question. So maybe you can clarify and come again. So you work from multiple computers. So maybe this is my laptop at home, but that is not the same laptop I use in my lab. But I'm working on the same documents. I'm working on the same research paper. How do I use Zotero in such a way that if I come home and I add some papers on the Zotero on my laptop at home, when I go to the office laptop or office computer, I can still see the changes I've made in Zotero on my laptop or my computer at the lab. More like to sync your account over multiple computers. That's the next thing we want to do. I believe that is okay. I'm waiting for Samsung to clarify. So let's quickly look at that, and then maybe we have some few minutes for questions. Miss Huda, please keep me in check with the time, okay? I really want to respect time. I wouldn't want to take more time than needed. So let's see how we go about that. Now, if you want to sync your device across multiple computers, it appears in paragraph, but I want them in block. Maybe your field of study is a bit different from mine, so I'm not really understanding what you're asking. Now, for the referencing style or the in-text citation style, there is always a standard format. So you just have to look for the format that is being required from the field you are in. If it's a particular format for a particular journal, the journal would have it online and you can download it through Zotero, like I showed you earlier on. Like if you should come to the document preferences over here. If it's not in the most common ones, you can just choose manage styles. Okay? Because we don't come up with our own referencing style or our own citation style. It's a standard format. Just come here, choose get additional styles. And then just search using the keyword. You can use this filter to search, maybe your field. You can click on it, it will narrow down. Now, if you look here, it says there are 10,525 styles. So definitely, if your standard is a format that is generally accepted, that is a standard format, you should be able to find it here by using a keyword or anything. All right, Samsung. I think it would be helpful if you rather rename yourself to your name. And then you can select and then choose. Let's try one more time. Maybe let's choose 2D. I don't know. They are very strange citation style. Let's choose 2D materials, okay? As an example. So let's choose 2D materials. So now I've chosen 2D materials. It has now become part of my selection. And I choose OK. Is that okay? So now I've added two what do you call it? 2D materials. If I come to document preferences, my current citation style is Chicago Manual of Style, 17th edition. If I now choose 2D styles, it will try to convert it in the best way to 2D styles form. So you see Zotero is loading. And then now it has converted it to 2D styles. So you see here, it's using numbers automatically. So you don't have to worry yourself about doing anything custom over here. Just go with the standard. So you realize that here, see how it's cited. It uses numbers, right? And not, so you don't have to play with anything that has to do with the Zotero's internally generated code. All right, just look for the standard citation style in your field, and then you will be able to easily switch. Howdama? All right, so now let's go to when you want to sync across multiple computers. Now, if you want to sync across multiple computers, it is good to have a Zotero account. If you go to Zotero, okay, .org, and then you go to register. Okay, you go to Zotero.org and then choose register. Perhaps let me click clean on this one, and then go to zotero.org. Then we'll navigate. So to make it easy, you can choose log in. All right. And then when it comes to log in, if you don't have a free account, you can click on register for a free account, and then it will still bring you to the same page. I hope you are following. And then just create an account. Okay, fill in the various information and then click on register. After you successfully go through this, to be able to link your Zotero app here, the information here, everything here across multiple computers, all right, you just have to enter in. Okay, so you come to edit, right, and then choose preferences. After you've created the account, okay, open your Zotero app, come to edit, go to preferences. All right. And then come to sync. Okay, come to sync over here. And then just enter in the username you use to create the account. And then just enter in the password. And then click OK. Once you do that on your maybe home computer, when you get to your lab computer, do the same thing. Just enter, go to preferences, enter in your account username and then the password. And then click on OK. Zotero would automatically sync all the information you have in your account across all the computers you put in your details. If it's delaying, you can just click on this sync sign here, and then it will load and then sync. All right. I have not configured my sync because mostly I work from one machine. All right. I mostly work from one, so I have not configured my sync. But once you do that and then you click on sync, it will replicate all this information you have here on your computer on any other Zotero account you have, whether the computer in your lab, the computer in your office, the computer at home. So you can work across multiple groups. Multiple computers, so that you don't have to carry the computer you use at the office and bring it home just because you have the literature there. Every literature I download and I keep here, it will automatically be inputted into any other computer I have the Zotero account on. So you just have to download the literature into just one computer and it will be synced across multiple platforms. I hope that is okay. I don't know if we have much time. Some of us perhaps work as groups, okay? Maybe you are collaborating. Maybe I'm collaborating with Miss Huda or Miss Jane. I am in China. Miss Jane is in maybe the UK, but we are all working on the same paper, right? I have my Zotero account. She also has a Zotero account. If I work only on my computer and I insert my own literature and citation referencing, if she opens it on a computer, if she opens the Word document on a computer, you realize that it becomes difficult for her to also update the reference list in order to also keep mine and keep hers. So it means if I work on mine, I will only be able to add mine. If she works on hers, she will only be able to add hers. So you may want to create a group sync where every information you enter, all right, is shared between the members. That is very key if you do group projects, so that when I do my part of the paper and I insert Zotero referencing, when you open it at your end in your country, Zotero will still be able to recognize the citations and still treat them as if you are the one who inserted those reference lists. If you want to do that, you just have to come to groups and then just follow the command. Okay, just come to groups and then you just choose create new group. I'll not be able to go through all because we are not creating. So, okay, you can just log in. Okay, let me try to see if I would recall mine. And then let's try to log in to see if it would work. So the one who is creating the group should definitely have an account. Okay, should definitely have an account. So if my details are right, it should be able to allow me to log in. All right, so my details were correct. So I've been able to log in. And then under creating a group, you have these three options. I can create a public group, open membership. It is open to the public. Anyone can join. I can create a public group, right? It is public, but members can only join when they are invited. So it says here, anyone can view your group online, but members must apply or be invited. And then I can create a private membership where only members who have invited can be part of that Zotero group. So normally, if you are working on a group project, this is what you go by, right? You choose private membership, and then you choose a create group. All right, and then you give the group a name. Okay, so give the group a name, maybe Zotero workshop. But this should normally be the paper you are working on, maybe or your faculty, or maybe a research team. Okay, maybe OAAD research group. And I know OAAD has research groups, right? So OAAD research group, okay, on maybe Chinese aid, right? And I create my group. And then now I just go in and now choose the various other details. The group we know is private, right? It's a private group. Okay. And then who are those who would have the reading access? No, I want any member of the group, not anyone on the internet. So I choose that one. Who are those who can edit? Any member, because sometimes you are working on as a group. You're working as a group. Someone can download paper and add into the account. Someone may want to edit. People can be assigned the opportunity to do whatever that they can do, right? And then, so here they can do editing, right? Who can edit, add, remove items from this group. And then file editing. I can also choose any members in the group. So who can work with files stored in the group? When I choose any groups and I save settings, okay, then the next thing, now it will take you to the next page where, all right, so I've saved settings. Then next you can come to the members settings. And then here is where you can update roles. Okay, it says Yatatanti is the owner. And then you can send invitation to the group members who are working on the project. So you just have to add the email address or Zotero username with comma or line. So maybe I can say, okay, I want to invite Miss Jane. I know Miss Jane's email is Jane, maybe at, this is just random. Okay, that's not her email. Jane at outlook.com. All right, maybe president, maybe Elijah. Okay. So you just type them this way, Elijah at OAAD.com. You just type in all the emails, or if you know the username, type, and then when you click invite, it will send them a link. Okay, it will send them a link. So let me try perhaps with one other email of mine. If I type p.aklofi@live.com and I click on invite members, it will send a link to the email of that one. You realize that here it shows that I've sent an invite. And then all of you can now start working together when everything is configured. We realize that it will pop up here, and then you can work together on the document that you would want to work on. So that's how you go about working in a group. So once that group request goes through, you realize that it will also have this interface, and then you can basically work together. And then, so you realize that here you can just create a new group, but it will take you through the same process. Okay, it will just bring you here. Okay, and then, so it's the same thing. So once everything works out, you realize that you will see another group here. Here, you see the group here, and then anything you put there, the entire members can access it. Any question? Miss Jane, how are we doing with our time?
You have a few more minutes.
All right. I think I'm right on time. I'm able to go through the major things. So these are the basics you would need for your Zotero account in order to be able to facilitate a very good research work. Okay, so Ms. Jane says we have some few minutes. Maybe we'll take some few questions. If there is none, I think we'll run up, unless there are some few questions. So family, I'm just giving some few seconds so that if you miss something, if I have to maybe go back and re-explain something or re-emphasize something, no worries, you can ask. And then I can use the few minutes we have to re-explain some aspects that perhaps you didn't get. All right, so as we wait for the few questions, now maybe you have a lot of documents in your Zotero app, right? And maybe there's a paper you want to read, but you forgot. Okay, you can always use this search tool. All right. If you choose library, Zotero will be searching. Okay. So anything you search here, Zotero would basically use that keyword to search for any document that bears it. So maybe I want to read the paper, but I've forgotten the title, or I just remember the author name. I can just type here, maybe the author name, and then Zotero would just select all the document that bears this keyword. And then I can now go through these smaller things, and then I can have access to the document I'm looking for. So if you just want to read the document, you can just double click on the document, and then it will open the PDF in Zotero itself. And then you can just read, right? And then make notes, any other thing, you can just basically do it. And then you can close when you're done. And then Zotero should function well. All right. If there are no questions, maybe we just give some few seconds. If there are no questions, I will hand over. I believe what I've gone through is sufficient to help anyone who is into research to be able to use Zotero.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Philip.
Oh, sorry, I forgot that you were a facilitator for today. So I'll hand this holder.
Okay, thank you so much. I think it was so interactive, so interesting and so clear that there is no question. So today there won't be a question and answer session because we have already exhausted this section with the clear interactive session we just had. So we are moving to the end of today's section of our training about unlocking potential for academic research training for Africa's next generation scholars, which is organized by the OAAD Women Network in partnership with the University of Botswana Economics Society. Yesterday, which was the first day of our training, we had Dr. Engineer Suzanne Ajagun, who delivered a brilliant presentation about how to structure a paper or a thesis. And today, which is our day 2, as you just witnessed, we had a very insightful and interactive presentation with Dr. Philip Atisenti about how to use the reference management software for research, especially Zotero. And tomorrow, which is our last section, we are going to have Dr. Osangbeto, who is an associate professor, to discuss about the general view on research from his research experience, what to do and what not to do as students to aid for research, for our research journey. So I will invite all of you to join us for tomorrow's section and also invite your friends to take advantage of this free training that we are offering. And make sure that you fill the form, the registration form, so that you can get your certificate. It can be useful for something. So make also sure to follow us, OAAD, on our different platforms so you will be informed about our next training opportunities. So without further ado, I will hand over to the coordinator for the closing remarks. Madam Jane, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone. all that joined, for everyone that joined us tonight. Thank you for being here. Today is the second day of the training, and most of us were here yesterday and still joined today. We are glad that you made it today, and we hope that we will see you tomorrow as well. Tomorrow's meeting, I want to thank Dr. Philip Akrofi Atitianti. Thank you so much, Dr. Philip. Thank you for answering our call, for honoring our invitation. You gave us a wonderful presentation. Before, I never knew about Zotero. Yes, I only use Mendeley. So today, today, I also learned about Zotero as well. So I can use anyone I want. Yes, thank you for teaching us about how to do our referencing perfectly with Zotero. Thank you so much. I hope that every other person here learned something new today. Yes, tomorrow we'll be having another day. Tomorrow is going to be our last day of the training. And if you are here, I don't think you want to miss tomorrow's training, because tomorrow is going to be packed with so much knowledge from the associate professor himself, Dr. Esambwadu. Yes. So if you have not filled the form, please do. The registration link is there on the chat. Please scroll up. You'll find the link there. Register, and know that if you did not fill the form for the 3 days, you might not be getting your certificate. So you need to be here to fill the form to get your certificate. Also, tomorrow's time is not the same as today or yesterday. Tomorrow's meeting time, training time is going to be by 3 p.m. Beijing, China time, and 9 a.m. Botswana time, Central African time. Remember, 9 a.m. Central African time. And if you're in Asia, China, it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon and 9 a.m. Botswanan time. Please do not make the mistake of missing out because you thought the time is going to be 8 p.m. or 2 p.m. Please make sure you remember, write it down or look at the posters. I know that you have the flyers or the posters out there. Please check it. Tomorrow's time. Don't miss out. Tomorrow is going to be packed with so much knowledge. We're about to learn more from someone who has had a great academic journey so far. And I believe that tomorrow as well, we're going to learn so much more than we've learned in this past 2 days. Thank you to everyone that made it out today to join us in this training for this 3 days. Thank you so much. We hope to see you tomorrow. Don't forget the time. Don't forget to fill the form, and don't forget to follow OAD on all their social media platforms. You'll be having the recording of this first 2 days on OAD YouTube channel. So you can, whatever you missed, you can go there and look at it again if you want a recap. Yes, but tomorrow's own is not going to be recorded. Tomorrow's meeting will be recorded. So don't miss tomorrow. You won't see it on the YouTube channel. It's exclusive meeting. So if you miss out tomorrow, you truly missed out. Okay, so see you guys. Thank you. I'll hand back to Huda, Dr. Huda, to close the meeting for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the notification about the change of the time for tomorrow's mission, tomorrow's section. So I would like to remind everybody in the meeting that the links for the registration and also to follow OAAD on our platforms have been sent in the chat box. So please have a look. And also, there is a question about those who are attending the webinar from China. You can register, just fill the form. No matter where you are join us from, just fill the registration form, the one named Survey Act, that one. Just fill it and make sure that you follow OAAD on other platforms. And if you are a PhD holder or PhD candidate, and you are not yet in OAAD, please add my WeChat. I will put the WeChat in the chat box. So just add any of us and we will add you to the OAAD family groups. So thank you for joining us, and tomorrow don't forget to invite your friends, your family members, and anybody who will need such training for his academic journey. So this is the end of today's session. So good night, or good afternoon, or good evening to everyone, and thank you for showing up. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Welcome, Sharon.
Bye.
Bye.
Hulda, you forgot to take the picture, today's picture.
We have 44 people.
Oh,
Okay, you want to
tomorrow.
do? Yeah, tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, bye-bye. Miss Jane.
Yes.
You
Let's give a few more minutes. So for those that have not filled the form yet,
Yeah.
just 2 more minutes, 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then, yes, we'll end the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you've not filled the form, you have 2 minutes to do so. Or you can copy the
Huh?
link and fill it at.
You can also add my WeChat, so I will add you to the OAD group.
No.
Please, can you stop the recording, Dr. Huda?
Yes. Oh, sorry, I forgot.